What the fuck is up, everybody? It is Dr. Stoic back at it again with 5 Stoic exercises. This time, this is going to be a mini series. I realized that the first video was about a half hour long, and it's quite a bit of information to parse through. So I didn't really have time to go into specific details about any of those exercises. So I'm going to create 5 different videos, and I'm going to further explain each and every single exercise for you today. So, without further ado, we shall get started with that. The first exercise I want to get into is cognitive distancing. So, what is cognitive distancing? Well, it goes to the trichotomy of control. So, what is the trichotomy of control? Things that are in your control, things that aren't in your control, and things that may or may not be within your realm of control. So, things that aren't in your control, what other people think about you, right? Election results more or less aren't within your control. Actually, that might fall into the third category, which I will later give you guys an exercise for. Um, you have other things as well, right? Like news events happening, occurring all around you. So there are things that are not within your control in life. And what the Stoics recommend is just don't worry about it, right? You should always be aware of these events occurring, but don't stress about it, right? There's nothing that you can do in terms of that. So you have to focus on things that are in your control. And what is within your control? Goal keeping, right? So there are SMART goals. And this is the type of goal keeping that I learned in my undergraduate education there. But SMART goals are basically sets of goals, like you have micro goals. You have goals that are set up for months at a time, years at a time. You have complete control over making those goals, but unfortunately, as a practicing Stoic, you know that you can't always get that anticipated outcome that you want. So, a practicing Stoic would train for bad events occurring, results that we don't want to occur. We would anticipate all outcomes for these events. So, goal keeping is something within our control. Budget keeping, that's something that's totally within our control. I mean, maybe the making money aspect is kind of a bit iffy, but with the money that you have purchasing power, right? And where you put your money is a powerful thing. So maybe in the future I'll make like budgets for practicing Stoics or whatever, but these are just some ideas of the things that you do have control over in your life. And things that may or may not be in your control would be stuff like exams, sports performances, that type of thing, right? You can have some influence of the outcome, but nothing guaranteed, right? So, as a practicing Stoic, you would use cognitive distancing to sort of prepare yourself, to steel yourself for a bad event or outcome to occur. So, what is cognitive distancing in particular? So, cognitive distancing, the really neat part about this is that it is the ability to basically have a mental filter. And this is kind of where you can start to control your emotions and your reactions to things a lot better, right? So let's just say that you go take an exam. And you take the exam and you don't get that great of a grade, right? So you see the grade and then you have the emotion of grief sets in. So this is a good example of grief. I mean, I'm going to get into more detail about more serious levels of grief, but the whole thing about the grief from like a poor grade, for example, is you have the ability to control how you feel and how you can react to these external events happening to you. So the good part about it is with a test, typically there's another test that follows. So when you feel that grief kind of come in, this is what's called a proto-passion. Stoics call these proto-passions, and what that means is these are feelings that come up from a bad event occurring that you kind of have no control over. They're just there, right? So a common misconception about this is that Stoics may advise you to bury these feelings, right? And that's totally not what Stoicism is at all. Stoicism in particular teaches you to be hyper focused on these feelings, but then you use your rational thinking skills to say, okay, should I really dwell on this? Right? So you have to think of it in that sense. Yes, I should feel grief, but would it be really productive of me to still grieve about this a week from now? No, right? Because what you have to start doing is you have to start preparing for the next exam or start preparing for that next game. So the faster you can get over your grief about the initial loss or the initial failing of achieving one of your goals is to kind of rationally put that feeling away, right? You're not burying it, you're just setting it aside and then getting to work on making a positive outcome occur again in the future. So that's cognitive distancing, and it's a very powerful technique. It is best used to be in conjunction with negative visualization. So if you can do negative visualization, which will be covered in the next video, you'll find a very potent practice that you can apply to your daily living. This is Dr. Stoic, and I'll see you for the next video. Peace out.